I'm giving away one WWE World Heavyweight Championship replica belt from WWEshop.com once I hit 100,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and click subscribe. Welcome back to TAS. Of course, I am Ango. Today, we're going to talk about some big stuff in the works with WWE and AEW, but I do want to kick off some very interesting stuff surrounding AEW Grand Slam. As you guys know, if you follow my channel, I'm actually a really big fan of AEW taking their shows to Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. I'm glad that it's a yearly tradition. However, this year seems to be a very odd year for AEW. So, according to WrestleTix on social media, they've revealed that the current setup for the event is 11,638 seats. So far, as of today, they are at 7,493 tickets distributed. What's even more interesting is that they have 4,000 tickets available left for the show. Now, we've been talking a little bit about AEW ticket sales and their performance overall, and I'm seeing a lot of interesting arguments. A lot of people are talking about the increase in prices. Some people are talking about the increase in, just overall stressful situations with the economy and stuff like that. I'm also seeing a lot of people just voice their displeasure for AEW's current product. Now, I actually think one of the biggest things that needs to be talked about, because I think it is fair to mention the economy, I think it's fair to mention the increase in ticket sales, but I do want to talk about something that I don't think is getting talked about a lot, and that is actually the fact that AEW Grand Slam is taking place just weeks after AEW All Out and All In. Now, I know this show is taking place on TV, but to me, Arthur Ashe feels like a stadium pay-per-view show. And that is very big credit to AEW and what they've done in recent years. Honestly, since they've introduced the entire concept of the show, it's always felt like a big deal. It feels way more than a TV special. And I think there's a reason why a lot of people are less interested in this, and I think a lot of that is due to the storytelling that was being built for All Out and All In. And now keep in mind, in just a few weeks, AEW will be doing Wrestle Dream in Seattle, which there is still more time for them to sell tickets. Currently, for Wrestle Dream taking place in Seattle, Washington, their setup is 6,905 seats. They've distributed 4,500 tickets with over 2,300 left to go. AEW is running bigger venues, and they're selling very specifically a certain amount of tickets. They're not trying to pack out these major stadiums or these major arenas, and I find that to be very interesting. What do you guys think is the reason for this? I want to turn our attention to CM Punk. There's been a lot of talk about CM Punk obviously departing AEW. I don't feel like this is something that's actually a big deal or a bad thing. I actually think this is a good thing. House of Wrestling came out and reported that CM Punk has no litigation pending against Tony Khan after being released, which had been speculated. Obviously, a lot of people were talking about this idea that CM Punk could potentially try to sue AEW for wrongful termination. The report also noted that CM Punk is looking to avoid further litigation and move on with his life. In fact, they say very specifically, Punk was described to me as someone breathing a sign of relief now that he is away from the day-to-day drama that seemed to follow him at AEW. Now, also keep in mind, and I did point this out on Twitter, so if you're not following me on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at AngoPW. There's no sign of AEW potentially pursuing legal action against CM Punk either. I think it's a good thing. Honestly, I think it's time for them to move on. I think it's time for CM Punk to move on completely. I think it's time for AEW to move on completely. I'd prefer to see no lawsuits here. I don't think anybody wins in that situation. I think right now it is just best that both parties move on. CM Punk could go do Impact, WWE, NWA, New Japan. He could go do whatever. It doesn't matter. I think AEW just needs to get away from that. I think that is also part of the issue that they have currently speaking, is that for a while, there's been more interest in the drama than the actual product. And I feel like the best course of action for AEW would just to be move away from it completely, focus on the product, focus on ticket sales, focus on pay-per-view buys, focus on putting on a great product. Guys, today's video is brought to you by Fifine microphones. For those who don't know, Fifine dropped a new microphone called the AM8, which is actually the microphone that I'm using right here. I often get asked, hey, what's the best way to start a YouTube channel? I want to do what you're doing. I want to talk, I want to do podcasts, things like that. The cool thing about Fifine is this microphone is only $54.99 on Amazon. And I'll put a link in the description. The biggest thing for me, guys, is I travel. And when I travel, I want something that is compact. I want something that is easy and plug and play. That's the reality. So I decided to team up with Fifine. I'm trying out this new microphone. I think it sounds pretty damn awesome. The fact that I've invested so much money into audio solutions is absolutely insane, considering the fact that there are solutions like this that are inexpensive. So it makes it a lot less riskier for you if you're trying to become a YouTube creator. The cool thing with this, it's got the LED on the side. Also has XLR input if you want to use it with a mixer or audio interface, but it also works USB-C. Definitely going to be using this when I travel. It is going to make things so much easier. And if you guys want to try it out, check out the link in the description. And with that being said, I want to turn our attention to our final story of today's video. Batista returning to WWE. Yeah, the Hollywood strike is obviously impacting a lot of people. We're seeing The Rock back, John Cena back. Obviously, we take reports with a grain of salt here. As always, we highly recommend that you do the same. But Slice Wrestling dropped a report. Now, in the past, there have been stories that we discussed that came from Slice Wrestling that were accurate. Now, I'm not saying Slice Wrestling has the same credibility as some of the others, but I feel like it is important to discuss this because Batista coming back to WWE would make a lot of sense currently based on the scenario that's happening in Hollywood. Now, the report suggests that WWE and Batista are having potential talks about different plans and stories for him to come into. Doesn't mean it's a sure thing, but I think Batista coming back to WWE could be pretty cool. One thing I always praise AEW, I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, but it's how AEW utilizes legends, and I think WWE has definitely improved in that area. I don't know if I would want Batista coming in, getting a world championship, and then dropping the belt or anything like that, but if there are any dream matches or any sort of big-time matches that WWE can make with Batista in the picture, I think this would be okay. Now, who would they put in that situation, right? Who would be a legitimate opponent for Batista? I think that's a great question to ask. And for me personally, I think there's only one person I think of, and that's Braun Breaker. And honestly, I think Braun Breaker and NXT getting called up, I feel like it's inevitable. I feel like it's going to happen soon anyways. I feel like you build a program between Braun Breaker and Batista at WrestleMania. Batista puts him over. I mean, I think that would be very significant. Obviously, I'm just kind of shooting off the hip with fantasy booking and stuff, but it would be a really unique situation for WWE, considering that the Hollywood strike. I mean, look, if Batista wants to come back, if he wants to get paid, I think the way it should work is he should put over somebody, and I think Braun Breaker would be the guy. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget, I'm giving away one WWE World Heavyweight Championship replica belt at 100,000 subscribers. All you got to do is click subscribe.